I'm David Key here with 10-time NFR qualifier Molly Powell. How are you doing today?
Good.
Tell me the first time you made the NFR. You were young, right?
I was 19 years old.
Oh, just 19. I thought you were younger than that. You were just little.
Yes, I'm still
You never
little.
grew.
Still little, yes.
So your husband, Turtle Powell, team ropes, won the world last year before?
2011.
2011. And then you have a son, Lane.
Yes.
How old's he now?
He's 18 months.
18 months. And how is it rodeoing with a young child?
It's just a lot different, like everyone would say. We definitely operated about 15% of our maximum output. Just try and get the diapers loaded and food for Lane, and once I took off and had to really think if I actually had my horse in the trailer.
Right. So now you and Turtle, it's a little complicated with you and Turtle rodeoing, separate rigs sometimes, try to go together sometimes, but tell me a little bit about that. A lot of the fans don't realize what all goes into this.
Yes, in the summertime, like last year, he was a baby, and it got, I guess, a little tricky. I remember pulling into Bremerton, Washington, and I was alone. Lane was just, young, and I was alone there, had to put the horses away. It was dark. It was in the middle of Seattle traffic. Definitely nerve-wracking trying to get there and figure out the directions. And then I had to find someone. I think Trey Johnson stepped in and helped me hold Lane and videoed me while I was running. And then afterwards, it was again in the dark, and I was putting the horses away, trying to pack water and take Lane in the stroller and get him fed and get the horses put away. And I was pretty stressed out. Thank God I did really good, and I was kind of using some adrenaline to get through that one. But a lot of times our main goal is Turtle takes care of the horses and drives, and I take care of Lane. And then we're usually fortunate enough to have like Brittany Kelly or one of the rodeo wives, help take care of Lane while we compete, because sometimes the barrel race is right after team roping. So.
Right. Well, I just think it's comical to me because, which it's not when you're in the middle of it, but I've lived through all that. So yeah. I know how difficult it is, number one, when you're both competing and then adding a child in on top of it adds to the complication. So it just makes it nerve-wracking, and you definitely got to do a little better planning.
Yeah. Sometimes it's
but it gets easier when he gets older, so that's a good thing.
Well, I was going to say, sometimes it's easier lately because he can read a book or play with his own toys, and before we were holding him and rocking him constantly. So.
Or I'm there.
Yeah.
At Pendleton this year, I'm there to watch the kid while Josie and...
We get to go shopping.
Yeah, y'all get to go shop and everything else. He wakes up. I'm just in a panic. So you always find somebody. Rodeo people.
And husbands. So.
Yeah. Rodeo people take care of each other.
Yeah.
So now you made it when you were 19 years old first time, and then you made it quite a few times in a row there for a while, right? How many times in a row?
I think 4 times. My first horse was Pecan, and yeah, she did really well, and then had a year or two off and found another good horse, and he went a few times, so really fortunate. Cool.
And now let me ask you this, just because this is always intriguing to me. Barrel racers, it seems like, this is the way I judge barrel racers. Not judge them, but you know what I mean. To me, there's not as many barrel racers that come in and make the finals on different horses. Most of them they come in on one horse. They either win the world on that horse, or they make the finals on that horse, and when that horse is gone, they're out. You don't ever see them again. The way I tend to judge how good of a rider somebody is if they can come in and make the finals on 2 or 3 different horses or whatever, then to me that they're a better hand than a person that comes in and just can ride one horse. You've had how many horses and made the finals?
I think I had about 8 of my favorites, I guess. Some years I had 2 that helped me equally, and definitely rode several different ones at the NFR. Not that I won on all of them, but I had the opportunity to ride several. And yeah, I think what makes it really tough is to master the dynamics of what it takes to win on that horse, because in your event, as you well know, a horse makes all the difference in the world, but truly your talent is actually what stops the clock. But a good barrel horse.
There's a combination.
Yeah, I can't pick my barrel horse up and put him on my back and carry him around there. If he doesn't want to work, or if he's not fast enough, there's no way we can win. So I think what is so special about certain teams getting together and winning is that those dynamics all came together. They figured out how to train them, how to win on them, how to keep them going, and the horse was actually fast enough to do it.
Right.
And when you try and find another horse to do that, sometimes it wears the person out and they give up because it's a big job. It's not easy, and it's disappointing. You go through 2 or 3 horses and it doesn't come back like it did when you won good. And so, some people give up, or they feel like it's not as special anymore that they don't have that one horse. And so,
Well, what to me, the other aspect of it is the adaptability of the rider to be able to adapt to a different kind of style of horse, because there's so many different styles of barrel horses. Some are real shapy and round, some of them are hit and roll backs. I mean, there's so many different kinds. And so to be able to adapt to a different kind or a different style of horse and to ride that horse, and then that horse is gone, and so now I've got a different kind of horse and I've got to ride this one a certain way. So there's so many different ways of riding different styles of horses, to me, just outsider looking in. And so to me, that's one of the biggest differences too, is some people adapt really well and can ride. And you have kind of jump rode a lot of different horses. You may ride one horse during the summer, somebody else's horse or whatever. You'll get on a different one at the NFR. I mean, you might see you on all kind of different horses. And to me, it seems like there's a lot of people who aren't able to do that, where you seem to have a knack for adapting to different horses and whatever. Would that be right?
well, I think I've had really good luck riding different horses, and I feel like one thing is that I grew up poor and had to win money to go, and so part of competing was that I had to win something. And so just to go out there and not really focus or worry about trying to win first, but get a good run, sometimes takes it down to a different level and makes it a little easier to where I can relax and also just figure out what it takes to get a good run out of that horse. And when you're on a talented horse, sometimes a good run really does win you pretty good. So I think that's helped a lot. And also riding scared. I mean, sometimes I'm just trying to stay on the horse, end up staying out of their way, and they do pretty good that way too, whereas people get on them and try and change up their style, and that actually hinders them. So I mean, when I rode Slider at the NFR, I was scared to death. There was no way I was helping him out much. I was just trying to, I knew if I didn't kick and hang on, I was going to fall off and make a fool out of myself. And so definitely it was riding scared, and that worked there too.
So there is an upside to raising up poor and being broke.
Yes. That can be an advantage.
I'm in good shape. I'm waiting for the upside. Okay, now let's get into a little deeper topics. I want to talk to you about, first off, the drug testing that they just started. What do you think about that?
That's a good controversy to get into. I think that anytime you put that dynamic into an event that is not strongly controlled with security, we're not on the same premises. We're in and out. Rodeo is a different type of sport, equine sport, where we're hauling in and out, hauling the horses hard and using them to where, they're going to need some anti-inflammatories and some help, getting down the road and staying strong. I think that there are several things that could go wrong with drug testing. I do not think it's ready. I don't think our sport is ready for that. I think someday when we get to where we compete at 20 to 30 large events throughout the year, where we stay there for a week and there's security and we can take care of our horses in the manner that would allow for the streamlined, for lack of a better word, drug administration, I think that would be a better benefit for the drug testing to come in. A lot of people wonder, well, if you're against drug testing, does that mean you give lots of drugs? No, but when a horse needs bute, they need bute. If they need Lasix for the bleeding, I think that is definitely more of a benefit than a harm. Obviously, we want the horses to go for longevity because they're so expensive. So.
Well, and I guess from, I'm outside of the barrel racing looking in, but I also rodeo, so I understand the logistics of the necessity of having to give bute, have to give Manamine from time to time. We have to be able to give Genison if our horse is getting sick. Exactly. I mean, people think that, why can't you get a vet, or vet say, you need to have a vet administer all this stuff. Well, the fact is, if you rodeo for a living, you better be able to give shots. You better be able to take care of your horse, because number one, you can't afford to have a vet do something every time. And the second thing is sometimes it's too late by the time you find a vet. If a horse is colicking or, whatever. I mean, there's so many different things that can go wrong or happen on the road. So everybody that rodeos has to give bute from time to time. You've got to give Banamine from time to time. You may have to give Genocin from time to time if one's getting pneumonia, or they've got a fever, or you've got to give SMZs, or you've got to. I mean, there's always something that you got to be given. So the drug testing to me is more for. I think that it would be good if it's tested for things that are enhancing the horse's run, trying to hop them up, stuff like that, which is what the racehorse industry did forever, trying to keep them from hopping the horses or whatever. And, I mean, I understand that, making horses run on their own ability, not trying to juice them up to make them outrun somebody. But I don't know how you get, I don't know where those lines intersect. Somewhere there's a gray area there that you got to have some common sense about it, to me.
Right. And, I guess you can kind of judge that the horses that are out there winning year after year and staying in the business for a long time at the top, more than likely, if they're pushed beyond their natural ability, their motor or their structure is going to wear out. And so when it doesn't, I think the horses are probably doing well with the routine or the regimen that they're on.
Right.
Some people accuse, horses that, how can they win at the top for years and years?
Right.
But I do think that there are just those Ironman horses that really can hold at the top and give that.
Love their job,
Yes.
love what they do.
And they also have that ability, more natural ability than some of the other
Right.
horses, and it's hard to imagine because it's frustrating when your horse doesn't have it.
Right.
But they
I
do.
agree.
So.
That's the one all of us are hunting. Let's talk a little bit about Calgary. You've won Calgary before?
Yes.
And how many times?
Once, yeah.
One. And it paid what?
$50,000 bonus. And
$50,000. Now it's 100.
Yes.
Is that right? Huge. That's a huge deal.
It is.
That's life changing.
Yes.
You can do something with that money all at once.
Yes. Sure.
So now they've changed it, and the barrel racers are going to count it.
Yes, it's going to count for the NFR. It's invitational. There's only 20 contestants in the rodeo, and they have 2 pools of 10 that compete for four go rounds in a row, and then they have a finals for the 100,000.
And then you said not all 100,000 is going to count?
As far as I know, there's only $50,000 of the total bonus that's going to count, and probably a proportionate amount of the other payoff on that finals day, which will pay down like $25,000, $15,000, $10,000.
And what's the reason for not letting all 100,000 count?
I'm not sure. I think maybe a socialist way of thinking where we don't want to let one rich rodeo pay more because other rodeos can't afford it and they don't want to make them feel bad. I'm not exactly sure, but I definitely think Calgary will have a huge influence, and for a small amount of people, a limited amount of people to excel towards making the NFR. Also count largely towards the World Championship, as does the National Finals.
I could see where it would definitely make a huge
Yes.
change for the World Championship. Which I see it both ways, I guess. I see it from the contestant standpoint of one person winning 100,000. I mean, 50,000, 100,000. What's the difference? But if they win 100,000, you're on your way to winning a World Championship if you do any good at the NFR, or if you do any good during the year. But I also disagree in the fact that if Calgary is willing to put up 100,000, then let them count 100,000. I mean, by all means, other rodeos step up and join the
Exactly. That's what
join the
I
club,
think.
but
There's opportunity for other rodeos to follow, and if they can only put up 50, 25, 75, whatever they can put up, they would be ranked accordingly. And I just don't believe in penalizing one rodeo for being able
for putting up a bunch of money.
for stepping forward and
Yeah, I
putting up a
agree.
lot of money. I mean, Las Vegas gets to count everything, and they have a lot of money to give, so.
I agree. And now you're from Canada originally.
Yes.
And then when did you move to the United States?
I was like 4 or 5 years old, and my family moved to Montana, and definitely have a lot of family left up in Canada and stay closely acquainted with them.
So you're barely a United States citizen. You're just right across the border. So.
Well, I'm actually in Texas now, so I'm actually closer to being a Mexican. But
now you're 3 citizenships. You're
Yeah, you
almost
never
Mexican,
know.
U.S. and Canada. So, well, that's interesting because most people don't have dual citizenship. So that's cool when you've
I
got.
can float.
Yeah. So when you're not rodeoing, what do you do in your downtime besides taking care of turtle, taking care of laying, barrel racing?
Well, I do like to try and train some horses. That requires a lot of consistent time, which is, I find really difficult to be a competitor, hopefully at the top level, also a good mom, and also help turtles. So I've been really blessed to have a good following in the clinics. And I've traveled around the United States and Canada, and also to Hawaii. And had a really good time learning how to teach, and I've had a lot of interest in teaching because I feel like I went through a lot of frustration when I was learning and took some long paths around the right way, and I have a immense competitive desire to win, and so I feel like there's other people out there that would like to have a little help taking a shorter route.
Right.
Also, it's a lot less costly to know how to handle your horse and take care of your horse, and have some better methods to, for your technique of barrel racing. So I feel like there's a need for it, and had a lot of good times meeting new people and teaching.
Right. I mean, I do the same thing, team roping, and it's it probably parallels the same deal, but there's so many people out there, there's so many women out there that try to barrel race or enjoy barrel racing or whatever. It's a huge sport. Team roping, the same thing, and I was the same way. I was self-taught, but I do think that being self-taught and kind of working your way around all that you're talking about, the frustration period, is probably where you learn the most also. I know for me, it's where I learned the most, and so in one way, that I think that's what gave me the ability to be able to teach, is because I actually had to learn what was causing what I was doing wrong, how to fix it, and then that transfers over into actually knowing how to teach. So you being married to a team roper, do you see any parallels between team roping and barrel racing?
Besides the fact that Turtle can get on my horse and spur him in the shoulder and get him by a barrel when I can't. Yes, I do, because we both made our horses broke. And also I think one big mistake that a lot of beginning to intermediate barrel racers make is they don't have enough bit on their horse and allow them to drop to their front end and get heavy and drop and hit barrels or lose their consistency in their patterns. So I know you guys were really big on having your horses balanced and enough control that you can handle them at the top speeds and under pressure. So it's one of the big comparisons.
Good point. And in that respect, you're right. I used to not like my horses broke, or didn't even care if my horses were broken. I think anybody, when you're younger, you don't know the difference, so you just learn how to ride them. And then as you get further along, you start realizing how important it is to have one broke, and not just people at schools. I tell everybody at schools, there's a lot of difference between having a gentle horse and a broke horse. Everybody misunderstands that a broke horse isn't gentle. A broke horse is actually, you can pick them up, move them, you can side pass them, you can make them move in all directions. Their hind end will move if you want their hind end to move, their front end will move if you want the front end to move. The other thing is, what I found in team roping, and I'll ask you this in barrel racing, a lot of times to me, the bit fits the person, their hand, according to how strong-handed they are, and or the bit fits the horse according to how soft the horse is. A lot of times people have 3 bits in their trailer and they just try that bit on every horse they've got. And not just try it, but make it work on every horse they got. But for me, I'm a little stronger handed, so the same bit for somebody else, when I go to pull them, they jump away because I pull harder. So I've got to always kind of play with bits and soften the bit a little bit so that I'm not pulling on horses. Barrel racing the same?
Yes, it sure is. I've borrowed horses from people and bought horses as well, where they're, tell me to ride with 2 hands, he's, strong in the mouth or whatever, and, but, he's trained to do his job, and sure enough, he's strong in the mouth, but there's no way I can get him to do his job. And
right.
So I think you're exactly right about horses having different bits, and also people having different hands and needing different bits. I think the ability to judge what is good enough to make the job well done and not well done is the key. Some people think that they don't want to ride with enough bit, or adequate amount of bit, I should say, and they still don't get a job well done, or the job done at the winning level.
Right.
So.
And now I did notice, speaking of bits, when I was in Cooper's the other day, that you have a bit selection. Reinsman make you bits?
Yeah.
Because I was going to buy one that I saw that I thought would look would work on
Well,
my
I'm
team roping
looking for
horses.
endorsees because my husband endorses Petska bits, and I'm always offended
There
that
you go. I'm your man.
he should be riding with a Molly Powell performance
There you
bit.
go. I'm your man. We're gonna work something out. After this interview, we're working something out. So, how many different bits do you have, or different? I saw 3 or 4, but
I probably between 15 and 20. I add a bit now and then, and improve or delete a bit now and then. The core bit line were based off the bits that I've used to make the national finals on different horses, and in a variety of control, from a short shank snaffle, Argentine snaffle, to a long shank combination bit for a horse that didn't want to turn his first barrel. So a large variety, and of course with barrel racing as well as team roping, a chain bit has definitely revolutionized our world because chain bits are so much more versatile to get bend and lift for controls. So.
Well, the one that I noticed was one that it was kind of a gag style bit, and what I'm figuring out a little bit, because I really like corners and mouths. I don't like stop as much as corners and mouths and being broke this way, but what I'm noticing in my head horses is when I pull on them, if they don't have some sort of what I'm thinking is a little bit of gag, so it's a subtle pull, would help me in the box more than just all of a sudden you're getting hold of them, and so that's why I was looking at it the other day.
For
so
sure.
There may be more parallels than what we even think in this.
For sure.
We'll get back to you on that. So,
do you have any room for a patch? I could use a patch.
We'll talk money and see where we go from here. While we're talking about parallels, what do you think about Cowboys barrel racing? Do you think that should be in there, or would you allow Cowboys to barrel race?
I think we would be in trouble because I think you guys could probably be very competitive with us and take half our money, if not more. The reason I think so is because especially competitors like yourself or Turtle or Trevor Brazil know what it takes to win at the top level. And at first you may not think of entering, but the more money that comes into play, Calgary with $100,000 here and there, Houston, I think that it may become apparent that you need to enter, and there's also a huge potential for the all-around race. So I think it'd get pretty tough, and not only just taking your head horse out there, you'd know how to win, and you'd probably be buying $100,000 barrel horses as well. So it'd just make a whole new dynamic in the market.
It might help my head horse too, really learn how to listen a little better instead of just going and doing their job. They might start actually listening to me a little bit. I might try that. I might go work the barrels on them and see if it helps me with my head.
When I was younger, they had a sweetheart barrel race at the rodeo in Dillon, Montana, and of course my dad had to get in it because all the other dads and husbands and stuff were in it, and it was very interesting to see the people that had sat on the fence and not really been down the alley for real before get on a trained horse that was aggressive and maybe hit their knee on a barrel or get thrown up over the horn or go wide and be embarrassed that they couldn't make the horse work as well as they had thought. So, but I think that is probably a dynamic kicked out when you get top competitors in there. I do think it'd be really tough, not only you Cowboys, but also the futurity riders that are limited out right now. It would probably make it just a crazy tough barrel race.
But it'll definitely be interesting at the least. And I have stitches from barrel racing when I was a kid, so it wouldn't be the first time if I hit my knee or leg on a barrel.
Barrel racers use the ambulance too. So.
Thank you for coming on. I appreciate you being on Keyed Up Rodeo, and good luck the rest of the year, and we look forward to seeing you down the road.
Okay, thank you.